Hello, welcome to the mini story lesson for the conversation titled Earthquakes. Let's get started with the story. Luke lives in San Francisco. Luke can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Luke told his friend George. George thought this seemed far-fetched. He thought that Luke was pulling his leg. "You've got to be kidding," he said to Luke. So Luke bet George $100 that he can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Luke ate 15 eggs in the first 10 minutes. Then, all of a sudden, the ground started to shake. There was an earthquake due east of San Francisco. Luke was not surprised, because earthquakes are a dime a dozen in San Francisco. When you live in San Francisco, it's a given that you will feel an earthquake, said Luke. "Totally," said George. Then Luke ate the rest of the eggs in 22 minutes, so George had to give him $100. Okay, so that's our story. Now I will start at the beginning of the story, and as I read the story, I will ask questions. And as always, please answer the questions out loud. If you need a little more time, then you can pause your iPod or your MP3 player and take as much time as you need to answer the questions. Of course, if you just feel like listening to the questions and not answering them, that's fine as well. Okay, so here we go. Luke lives in San Francisco. Does Luke live in San Francisco? Yes, he does. Luke lives in San Francisco. Who lives in San Francisco? Luke. Luke lives in San Francisco. Does Larry or Luke live in San Francisco? Luke does. Luke lives in San Francisco. Does Larry live in San Francisco? No, Larry doesn't live in San Francisco. Where does Luke live? San Francisco. Luke lives in San Francisco. Does Luke live in New York or San Francisco? San Francisco. He lives in San Francisco. Does Luke live in New York? No, Luke doesn't live in New York. Does Luke live in San Francisco? Yes, that's correct. Luke lives in San Francisco. Luke can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? Yes, he can. I mean, that sounds like a lot of eggs, but he can do it. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. What can Luke do? Well, he can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke eat 50 eggs in 1 hour or read a book in 1 week? He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke read a book in 1 week? No, Luke's not reading a book in 1 week. Who can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? Luke. Luke can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke's brother Stanley eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? No, not Stanley. Can Luke eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? Yes, he can. Luke can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. What can Luke eat in 1 hour? Can he eat 50 eggs or 2 pieces of bread? 50 eggs. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. How many eggs can Luke eat in 1 hour? Well, he can eat 50. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can he eat 50 or 60 eggs in 1 hour? 50. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. How much time does it take Luke to eat 50 eggs? Well, it takes him 1 hour. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke eat 50 eggs in 1 hour or 10 minutes? 1 hour. He can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Can Luke eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? Yes, he can. Luke can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour. Luke told his friend George. Did Luke tell his friend George? He certainly did. Luke told his friend George. What did Luke do? That's right, he told his friend George. Did Luke eat some eggs or tell his friend George? He told his friend George. Who told his friend George? Did Luke's brother Stanley tell George? No, it wasn't Stanley. Did Luke tell George? Yes, he did. Luke told George. Who did Luke tell? Did he tell his mother? No, he didn't tell his mother. Did he tell George? Yes, that's correct. He told George. What did Luke tell George? Did he tell him the score of the football game? No, that's not what he told him. Did he tell him that he can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? He certainly did. That's what he told him. Did Luke tell George that he can eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? Yes, he did. That's what he told his friend George. George thought this seemed far-fetched. Did George think this seemed far-fetched? Yes, he did. George thought this seemed far-fetched. What did George think? Did he think that it was going to rain? No, George didn't think it was going to rain. Did he think that it seemed far-fetched? Yes, he did. He thought it seemed far-fetched. Did he think that it seemed believable? No, he didn't think that it seemed believable. Far-fetched does not mean believable. Did he think that it seemed unbelievable? Yes, he did. George thought that this seemed far-fetched, which is the same thing as saying that he thought that it seemed unbelievable. What did George think was far-fetched? Did he think that Luke being able to eat 50 eggs in 1 hour was far-fetched? Yes, that's correct. That's what he thought was far-fetched or unbelievable. Did George think that Luke could eat 50 eggs in 1 hour? No, he didn't. He thought that it seemed far-fetched.